I recently had a client say, Rob, I listened to your podcast. You know what you need to do? Land the plane. Well, guess what's not happening today? Planes landing. Nothing will land today on the Manspace. Yeah, okay. Welcome to the Manspace podcast. We're your hosts, Doctors Matt Brown and Rob Porter, and clinical therapist Mike Porter.
You gotta land the plane.
It was hilarious. I was like, okay. Welcome, spacemen, to an episode that promises to be more rambling than all other episodes. What?
You look at you can't see your face.
If you didn't know this already, spacemen, we are on YouTube, and you should be going and watching because so far, I'm gonna be honest, 7.5 views is not enough for me. I actually don't know what it is, but it's probably like 7.5.
I want to look it up.
No, I think we have one that has 54 views. Although our shorts have more views than that.
Yeah, some of our shorts are in the thousands.
Because it's just me wandering around in shorts with no shirt on. Everyone's like, let me give you a piece of that action.
Or at least they're stopping to try and figure out what's going on.
What is that? What do we got? Is anything good? No. It's 54, I told you. Go to YouTube. Or my nephew Robbie, who's now our production manager. That's what I'm calling him. He'll get real upset. He yells at me a lot.
Our highest is 59 views.
59! That must have been like in the last 5 minutes someone got on there and watched.
I don't know. That was episode 98, our AI episode.
Hey,
there is Fathering After Divorce. That has 57 views.
So we've upset 57 fathers?
Yes. I did. I don't remember who I was talking to, but someone was like, so wait a minute. I'm supposed to take advice about what it is to be a divorced dad from 3 guys who haven't been divorced.
Yeah, I wasn't even on that one, man.
That's true.
Two
guys.
Oh, crap.
In fact, Robbie cut you right out of the intro.
Did he really?
That's the one where it's like from Doctors Rob Porter. And also then there's Mike Porter.
And then there's Mike.
Also, today's episode is not brought to you today by Torchies, but it should be. Guy who owns Torchies. Think of how we could work together. So today's episode is not going to be as rambling as it seems. It will still be about men.
Will it?
And yes, man.
I mean, it will.
Did you guys know this hat I'm wearing?
It's backwards.
It is backwards.
Rob's ready for a fight.
Well, just in case somebody watching doesn't think you're just wearing like, you remember people used to do that?
The skull cap.
Oh, yeah.
Cut the
Did they?
bill off. I think it was a thing like in the,
Gross.
I don't know, 90s.
I do pull the thing off the top.
You got
the
to.
ball.
Why? On all of them?
Yeah.
Yeah, because when I was in high school, people
Somebody
would
would
like
hit you?
they'd pop that thing, man. It hurts.
It does hurt. I know that.
And then I got used to not having it on, so when one's on there, it feels like I got the little spinny top on my head.
I told you the story about when I hit my friend in the head with a shovel when he was wearing
Wait, did you?
like on the button.
Have you told the Manspace
I think
yet?
so. I think it was early on. Yeah, we were all just like messing around, and I got
With a shovel?
Well,
We were
like
all
a
just messing around with a shovel.
there was a snow
You hit
shovel.
Tyler in the head with a shovel.
That was not intentional.
The best part was like, so we're all goofing off, and then it kind of just was dying down, I think. But I took the snow shovel and like tapped him right on the button, and he's like, "Oh!" My response was, "Dude, what happened?" He's like, "You hit me in the head with a freaking shovels. What happened?"
What happened?
I think I was trying to say like, "Dude, I didn't hit you that hard. Like what?" But I hit him right on the button with a shovel.
Right on the button.
There's your first why do men do.
Oh, that is it. Because this is part of what our episode is today is why do men do certain things. That's part of what I've had certain musings like, why is this a thing that dudes do? Because I've never, either I do these things or I don't do these things. And look, I just missed hanging out with you guys. We haven't been down here in like 2 months, man.
I know.
What?
Yeah.
Yeah.
When I came
was
up there,
looking.
was the first?
Yeah, in like 6 weeks.
We all traveled or something.
You were sick the last time.
You
Before you were supposed to come up, you were sick,
Well, then you did the humanitarian thing.
and then you did the
Oh,
humanitarian
that's
thing.
Yeah.
So it's been a while, and I just wanted to mess around a bunch.
Well,
and never land my plane.
I was looking forward to today. Like I told Jenna, I'm like, oh, I hope none of my clients are listening. I'm like, yeah, yesterday was kind of a wash.
They don't know when this was recorded.
I'm just like, all I could think was, oh, I just want to go to Houston tomorrow.
See?
and then I came through for you and took you right over the porpoise real fast.
Yep.
See, this is
He
this is a
doesn't
perfect example.
disappoint.
You took him over the porpoise real fast. To explain what the porpoise is to listeners,
Okay.
Houston has terrible roads,
It's true.
and at certain points in the road, I don't know, the ground pushes up.
There's a tree root or
Yeah.
a piece of mud that is expanded well beyond its capacity or something.
But
This
beyond
place
its
is
designed.
This place is always in some state of falling apart.
So what happens is Mike always sits in the back because he doesn't have a PhD. So I don't know what else I never know why
Is
you
that
always
why
sit in
you
the back.
drive when we're up there, just to get in the front seat?
Oh,
No, it's
or
because
my car.
Chucklehead doesn't bring a car, and when he does it, like a clown car.
He hasn't put pegs on his bike yet to ride us to the gas
Wanna give you a
station.
pump? But Matt likes to hit the gas because if you roll over, these things are like speed bumps. Like
It's like a big, yeah.
it's like a big
It's
spike.
it's a reverse pothole.
Yeah.
And when we hit
And
it,
it's way worse for the person in back.
the back of Matt's car also has not
Very
cushiony
little padding.
seats.
No.
So
Buy a Kia Forte, everybody.
Mike-
Amazing interiors.
Mike gets kind of beat back there. It's hilarious. But then it's super funny for me and Matt. Mike's laughing. I don't know that it's funny for him.
It's funny. I mean, it hurts sometimes.
The best part too is to add to this is that Matt makes sure to shift his car into sports mode.
Sport mode.
so that he's getting better acceleration when he hits it.
So that key is really giving it all it's got. So why? I'm curious.
It's
Why is it that
delightful.
men like to do things like this? Like we like to hurt each other, or like prank each other in ways that are like, why would you do that, man? Like pants somebody at school,
So
like
Yeah.
totally humiliate somebody, or smack somebody on the head with a shovel. Like, what is it that would say this is a good idea?
so I have like a couple of, I don't know, corresponding thoughts or questions. I was watching an episode of Parks and Rec, and
You're like, I'm going to answer your question with a question.
yeah, kind of.
Okay, go ahead.
I was watching an episode of Parks and Rec, and Ron and Jerry and the city planner guy,
The other guy.
yeah, the other guy, they go check the trails, right?
Mhm.
Really, it's just their excuse to go hunting, just the three of them for the weekend. And the main person, Leslie Knope, decides that she's going to make it a whole team thing. So all the women are going to come,
Mhm.
and Tom, who they're like, is kind of. Anyway, and so like one of the first things that happens is one of the dudes comes up and just pantses one of the other dudes.
Mhm.
And it's like, yeah, and they like cheer, and everyone's just like, what? Is this a thing? And my thought was, I wonder how much of a thing it is for
I don't know that it is for
Well,
women.
no
No, to pants each
For-
other?
for dudes now. Like I was talking to
No.
well, hang on.
Okay.
I was talking to a kid yesterday because for us growing up, if you played sports
I
or
did
really
not.
anything, if you made a mistake, someone was going to make fun of you for it.
Right.
One of your dude friends was going to, way to go, dude, right? Or smooth move, X-Lax. We said the dumbest things.
Yeah, that makes total sense.
Oh, totally.
I can tell you about my student who said it wrong, but I won't.
Mm.
I will later.
And I said, so does that thing happen? And he goes, I mean, sometimes I guess. And I'm like, but not every time. He goes, oh no. And I thought they don't do it anymore.
No, maybe it's just him.
I think they do when their phones are gone.
Oh,
Mm.
there you go.
So, but that doesn't, because my smooth move X-Lax was I had a student once and I was pushing a cart into the room and a speaker fell off and he goes, smooth move, Sherlock Holmes. And I
Wow.
said, it's smooth move X-Lax. And he goes, yeah, maybe in the 80s.
When it originated.
And also when it made
Dude,
sense.
how does smooth
He's
move-
combining two.
Yeah, he's combining the
Yeah.
no crap Sherlock,
No
Yeah.
crap, Sherlock.
which I tried to explain to him that X-Lax is a laxative.
Mhm.
So, and he's like, yeah, okay. And it's like, which is ironic. He was actually wearing, I think, a leather members only jacket.
Oh, sweet.
And I want to say, dude, that is from the 80s. So keep your mouth shut. So, but this does not answer my question. Mike just posed an idea that says it doesn't have anymore, which I kind of
I didn't
disagree
say
with.
doesn't. I said I wonder if it happens as frequently. Like
Because we
for
don't have time
us-
to be outside messing around and doing dumb
Well,
stuff.
for us, it happened like that was just part of it, right? And so we didn't take things as personally because, or at least we didn't show that we took them as personally because it happened to everybody.
Mhm.
It was pretty rare that I was being singled out. I wasn't being singled out. I was like, if the dude next to me made a mistake, everyone was going to jump on that guy in a second.
Mhm.
Like that's just the way it worked.
Okay, so why? Is this a dominance thing? I will be the alpha male. Rob's always the gamma. We know that. I'm going to shove you off a cliff if I need to.
Well, I don't want to answer this with another question.
Do it.
Do
But
it.
when you said alpha, I'm so freaking tired of people like misusing that.
Mm-hmm.
Because we were watching this really stupid show, which I wouldn't recommend, called Outlast. I think it's basically like Alone, like Cutthroat Alone in teams.
Yeah.
And there's all these people saying like, yeah, we're all alphas. And I'm like, no, you're all the insecure people that are trying to like dominate each other. And that's not what an alpha does. Like,
We like to call those gammas.
Oh,
but
I will dominate you.
like, yeah, an alpha is not going to humiliate somebody,
Right.
you know?
They don't need to.
Yeah.
That's what gammas are for.
You did that one yourself.
It's because I'm
But
confident.
to answer your question, I do think, oh my gosh.
Yeah, just so to keep everybody up to date on the continuing saga of Matt's lungs, he apparently has pneumonia, for which he is now on a steroid and an antibiotic. Is that right?
Yeah, but then I got the actual report from the radiologist, and they're like, "Oh, your lungs are fine." I'm like, "Well,
What's the deal?
they feel not fine." I don't know, man. Like, it's weird. It's a long. I've talked to several other people that, like, all summer they've just had this weird, bronchial issue. So
That sounds like a band name. Ladies and
Bronchial
gentlemen,
issue.
bronchial issue.
issue.
Continue.
I'm always nervous to talk about stuff like this because I don't want, I don't want the good to be lost. Because there's a lot of good that comes from guys pulling each other's pants down.
Oh yeah.
Hitting each other on the
Oh
head.
yeah, none of this is meant like.
No.
This is
I
me
just
wondering why
want
this
to. I want to
happened.
speak like to the full thing, right? Like I think part of it is what we've talked about before. Like that's like that is rough and tumble play as an adult, right?
Mhm.
That's bonding as an adult. But you have to. I think you have to watch for some things because there's that, and then there is like completely humiliating somebody and like dominating them and like isolating them, and then there is like, I really want to say something to you, but I don't know how. And so I'm going to just punch you. Right. So I think there's all sorts of versions of it, but I think in the case where it is like, they're just having fun, like leave it alone. Like don't criticize it or scrutinize it or like, let it be what it is. In the case where they're dominating somebody, call that out and be like, dude, why are you doing that? You know? And then when I can't get my words out. Right. Like, I think encouraging like, hey, just talk about it, right? Like if you're trying to show somebody that you like them, don't punch them, right? Tell them you like them, right? But if it's guys messing around and like those, think about how many times we've told those stories.
Oh yeah.
Like it builds a memory, it builds like a shared experience that you can laugh about later. So I think there's all sorts of reasons, but I think if we label it as one thing, right? I worry that like too many of these things are just getting labeled as all bad, right? And it's like,
well,
that's
I don't think these are necessarily bad.
Yeah.
Right.
I really do, because one of my things later is men in golf. I don't understand.
Yeah.
It. But so I think because it's interesting everything you just said. It sounds like there's a whole bunch of subconscious things going on that are almost like evolutionary in its nature. Like I was thinking about, because then an extension of that is men and destruction. Why do we like to destroy things? Like my friends on a hike, I think I've told this one a long time ago too. They see this big rock up on a cliff, and two of my friends, which both of them now knowing them really well, I feel like you are the most surprising ones to go do this. But they're like, let's go knock that rock off. The only way to knock it off was to stand on it. So they're standing on it, like trying to do this and get it to fall. And all of a sudden it starts to fall. And my friend Damon does a George Costanza, like, get out of my way. He like shoves Austin, like not like to save him from the rock, but like move. I have to get off this rock.
Wait a minute. Are these like
We were all getting,
college age
we were all
friends?
getting PhDs at the time.
So this is not a high school story.
No, we were all. I'm standing there because I'm the nervous guy I'm a rule follower, and I'm like, you guys are creating erosion problems, and and they got the rock off, but I was like, what did you do that for? You guys both have like 5 kids, like what is happening? And admittedly, we all like to blow stuff up. I have a client who says he just likes to go around and light stuff on fire on his property.
Yeah. Fire's really, in college, I wanted to see how big of a flame I could get on our kitchen table without having any base for it. So I was just using melted wax, and I just built, and I got like a flame, like pretty high, like a good, probably foot off my table.
Mhm.
before it started to scorch the table. And then we were like, all right, we're done.
So like this morning, my neighbor comes over because she's like, "Do you have a thing to turn off the water main to my house?" And I was like, "I don't think you need a thing." So we open it up and turn it off,
Mhm.
and because water's leaking from her ceiling. And so I was like, "Well, it could be your HVAC. It could be." So we go and look, and her HVAC's fine.
Mhm.
And then I happen to see the bathroom in there, that the sink is totally clogged,
Mhm.
and there's a towel hanging half in, half out, and it's just been dripping for her kids have been there with their dad, so that it's probably been days.
Yeah.
It's been dripping on the floor like this. And I thought, probably, I know one of her kids is very, we'll say, precocious. And it's very likely that he's like, I wonder what happens if I do this. Or like, what happens if I try to shove this burrito down this bathroom sink? Or, like, and I think that's so funny that there's something in us. Like my daughter has this a little bit actually, like, what happens if I do this?
Yeah.
Like I'm going to poke this thing or,
Mhm.
so I guess it's like, and maybe I think I like I agree with the idea that there's really good outcomes from this.
Mhm.
Some of these stories with my friends where it's like, remember that really stupid thing we did where we should have died that you don't want to tell your parents because they'll be like, you would have died and I'm going to ground you or whatever it is.
Yeah.
Those are your favorite stories about, remember how like we almost lost Kyle that day?
No, as you're talking about this, I'm remembering like when I was setting up my office, I wanted to try that like wood burning thing.
Yeah.
And so I had a friend who he was like 60, I don't know, 62 or 63 at the time. And I knew he had like a little blowtorch thing. So I was like, hey, can I come over and we can just burn this wood together? He's like, sure. So he's all excited. But it's like taking forever because it's this teeny little blowtorch. And then
It's like
he's
for creme brulee.
yeah. He's like, hey, there's those weed burner things at Home Depot. We could go get one of those. So we go get one. And just imagine like a 60 some odd year old dude, like when I light it up and it's like, he's just like, whoa, like super excited. I think it just kind of like, yeah, I think certain things are just, you don't know what's going to happen. I was thinking as you were saying this, that not that we should match women's ability to create and generate life with our
That's exactly what I was just
ability to-
thinking.
Their ability
Yeah, it's
to
like,
destroy.
You can grow a baby, but I can knock this rock off the hill.
I was just thinking because I've had this conversation with a couple people recently, clients, about the what I think is an innate need to create. I think for all humans,
Yeah.
but as men, like a lot of times too, what happens is that we become like we can achieve these things with work, but we're still not creating. Like even if you become a CEO or this or that, it's like, yeah, but it was I worked for it and it came to me or whatever it is,
Right.
but it's not something I made that has this like, look at what I did. I think that element when you say create, I think it's funny how much I think, well, can I make this thing blow up? Like, did I do that? Like Tom Hanks in Castaway.
I made
He's
fire.
so proud of himself for making fire. It's like not only survival thing, but I'm sure there's like, check out what I did.
Well, that's the thing. His response, if you think back to it, is very much that kind of primal,
Yeah.
like,
It's-
look at this
right.
thing that I've created.
Yeah.
That's funny because
You
I
do create stuff with destruction too.
Right.
I mean,
Yeah.
yeah.
and it's just doing. That's what I mean. That's why I say it's not just creation, but even that idea of like, look what I did.
Yeah.
I did this thing.
Well, and I wonder how much of it, like, stereotypically, you'll have, right? Like, men tend to lean more towards the sciences and engineering. And part of that is saying, what happens if, right? What happens if I change this one thing? What happens if I, like, can I take this apart? What happens if I take this apart? How does it work? What does it do if I apply an insane amount of pressure to this rock? If I push it off this cliff, is it going to break into a bunch of pieces or just like one or two? Like, what's going to happen? Is it going to leave a big crater in the ground? Like, where's this going to go? Like, I watched a couple of guys drop an anvil off a bridge. They're trying to hit a car. And like they missed the car the first time. And I mean, it left a decent sized crater and dirt just flying everywhere. And I thought that was worth it.
Yeah.
And then they smashed the car and I thought, yep, also worth it. But I think it's just that idea of like, I want to see what happens. There's almost something scientific about it, right? That idea of like, well, let's change this and see what happens. Let's add fire and see what happens.
Yeah. And taken to an extreme, right? It's like, in a lot of cases, consider the consequences, right? Like how is your desire to do that worth eroding some hill and destroying a habitat for some animal? Probably not, right? But like But yeah,
But it seems like a good idea in the
but it
moment.
seems, but like how many YouTube channels are dedicated to
that kind of thing.
that kind of thing?
Yeah.
And yeah, it's trying to figure things out, right? Like what happens if these things, and think about all the movement that happens in those types of scenarios, and how you can kind of turn things around and look at it. Like boys and men's brains prioritize movement much more than girls and women's,
Mhm.
like in terms of attending to things and figuring out how things work. So could be a way of just kind of figuring the world out in a different way, right? I don't know if you guys remember that show. It's called Destroy, Build, Destroy with
No.
Andrew WK.
Remember that guy?
I don't remember Andrew WK, but I have a vague memory of this.
I don't know who did the freaking wardrobe for that dude, but man, he was wearing like high water white jeans with like a white t-shirt that was way too small for him.
Wasn't he like a singer?
I looked it up one time. I can't remember what he did before this, but basically all these kids would have something that they had to blow up to kind of break it apart, and then they'd have a challenge to build something with it, and then at the end they'd like blow it up in a huge way. Yeah, and like boys and girls just having tons of fun.
Right.
So there's something fun about.
I do think.
There you go. It's fun.
Well, but then maybe it's just that, but I do think there's the other element. I'm also still looking up Andrew WK because I was like, I'm pretty sure he was a singer in what?
Some punk band or something, maybe.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. He had some famous song.
I just thought, like, dude, that's the dumbest name I've ever heard.
Yeah,
Andrew WK.
You're abbreviating your middle and last name.
Louis CK.
Yeah, but he
We're
didn't-
worked for that
corrected.
Yeah,
Did until
just saying.
he screwed it up. Oh, I love
No.
you, Louis C.K. Rob, how dare you say that? Cancel Rob. So, but this doesn't. Well, maybe it does. I have two other because now we moved into the destruction thing, and that one I feel like I can see that, and I can even tie in the. I can see like with making fun of each other. I have a tendency, like my feeling, whether this is right or wrong, is that in my guts, if we laugh together,
Yep.
then we're buddies. We're cool.
Yeah.
So even if it's me making fun of you or you making fun of me, then cool. I know I can have a tendency to go too far.
Yeah.
And I've worked on that a lot to make sure I don't, because I don't want to. My intent is never to make someone feel bad. It's to say, hey, if we're all laughing, then we're friends.
Mm-hmm.
I think the same is true for the destruction thing. If I'm in the middle of destroying something and someone thinks, well, that's really cool. Yeah, chances are I'm going to want to hang out with that guy because he's going to want to do more of the thing I just did.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas if the kid is like, you shouldn't do that.
Mm-hmm.
That's like how you're going to disrupt the like,
Yeah.
I'm not hanging out with this guy anymore.
Yeah.
He just wants to yell at me about the habitat. Like,
That's me.
I'm out. Like, I don't need
Rob
that.
rode in the back seat.
I wasn't invited.
He got poor post.
I wasn't invited on any more mancation trips.
There is that kind of like lends to the idea of the original conception of the court jester, right? Was like, hey, go poke fun at the king and like make jokes and see if he can take it. Then we'll know if we can talk to him about like deeper issues. So it's
That's
like
interesting.
if the court jester offended the king, he got killed, basically, right?
Mm-hmm.
But so it gives you a whole new sense of appreciation for the court jester, and I do think that's kind of what comedy does nowadays, right? Is like where's the line, and what are the things we can talk about? Like if we, and maybe the premise is like if we can't be light about something, then we probably can't be serious about it. If we take everything too seriously, then a lot of subjects will probably be off
Limits.
you know. But there's all like limits to comedy and destruction and things where it's like, whoa, that's
There's
too
always a
far,
fine
right?
balance.
Yeah.
Because sometimes it is destruction for the sake of destruction.
Yeah.
It seems like.
Or destruction because I'm feeling destroyed inside and I'm taking it out on the world versus trying to figure out, hey, what happens? Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Which that's true. Like sometimes I think there is an aspect of, well, which obviously is true for the making fun thing too. Sometimes no, like it's not always about trying to find that common thread among the people I'm around.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes it really is, I want to make this kid's life miserable. Or sometimes it really is, I just want to destroy something because I'm trying to manage this anger inside, right? It's the guy who gets so angry, he punches a hole in a wall.
Yeah.
It's like, right. Like, yeah, it's the release of anger, but there's something about, right? So punching a pillow doesn't give him the same satisfaction because there's nothing that comes after it. He punched a pillow and nothing happens. I punched the wall. I can see the hole in the wall. That's how mad I was. Look at that hole I made.
Yeah.
And so like sometimes there is just that I want to destroy something, or I want to make this kid's life miserable for whatever reason.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the kind of stuff where you're like, yeah, that stuff should stop, right? That's something that should be addressed and we should deal with. But there is that tendency, I think, to have like the phrase "boys will be boys."
Mm-hmm.
Like as a teacher, I had really mixed feelings about it
Mm-hmm.
because I would see lots of people use it as just excusing their kids' like crap behavior.
Yeah.
Like, no, your kid was just mean.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and admittedly, especially as I got into the younger grades, a lot of that is them trying to find their boundaries and limits.
Mm-hmm.
Like they're trying to figure out this whole, how do I make fun of somebody to let them know I want to be friends? And they often will cross the line.
Yeah.
And so it was a weird balance to try to find as a teacher, but like I would watch them just kind of excuse this garbage behavior. And I was like, no, that's not a boys will be boys thing. Sorry. Like your kid, it's always him.
That's when you just say rules will be rules.
Yeah. Your kid is always targeting little Steven, right? He doesn't mess with any of the other boys. It's always little Steven.
Yeah.
So guess what? That's not a boys will be boys. That's your kid picking on Steven.
Mm-hmm.
But we've overcorrected like we often do, and just said, no, boys shouldn't make fun of, like, no, it is how we feel out to see where are we with this.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there needs to be a balance between boys will be boys, which is true. You want to let kids do some dumb stuff.
Right.
But also, if you do something too dumb, or even if you're doing the dumb stuff, you still have to take responsibility for your stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And you should still be learning, hey, I can or can't do this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So to any women listening, so far in the episode, we've just explained to you why your husbands do dumb things with their friends. You're welcome.
And destroy things.
And it's actually a good thing.
Well, and I think a lot of it, like I always come back to this thing that Matt said, which was, for me, it's really kind of shifted how I look at certain things. You talked about that idea of us tapping into this adolescent aspect of our personalities, because that's the last time we were like truly able to express ourselves however we wanted. And so doing it kind of lets us get into this mind space where we can access the emotions that we spend so much of our day saying, sorry, those have to stay over here.
I think it's also where creativity comes in. That like, what happens if I do this? So it kind of opens us up to say, oh, cool. But if I move on from this for a second.
You're going to destroy it. Go ahead and do it now.
Blow that up.
Roll it off the cliff, Mr. Eroder.
I was the guy down there scolding. Rob's lame.
You didn't scold anybody.
I mean, you can watch the video. There's me going, these guys are such idiots. Am I right, Steve? Come on. I mean, let's just go sit down and read some nerd books.
Is there actually video?
Yeah, there's video. It's hilarious. I wish I could find it to watch Damon shove Austin. It was like a real heroic moment for Damon.
Dude, Austin, Steve, or apparently Damon. I don't know you.
You know beef. Steve is beef.
Oh, no, I know.
Okay.
I said Austin, Steve, Damon. I don't know you. If you guys are listening and you have this video, please send it to us. I really want to see this.
It was hilarious. But
I end up on the YouTube channel with the RoboCop video.
Robo-crotch. Okay, so I have some theories on this, but I could actually pick two sports where I've seen this happen. And I think it's only these two sports where it's like this, it reaches points that look like obsession for men. One is golf and one is cycling, actually.
Yeah, weirdo.
Which I know I cycle, but mine's never reached obsession points. I love it. But I've never ridden longer than because I feel like, do I want to ride my bike for 6 hours? Probably not. But I have women all the time talking about how, well, my husband's gone and, he leaves on Saturday morning to go ride and he doesn't come back till 2 p.m. Or golf. My husband will go play golf every day if I let him, which is always such a funny phrase. If I let him, what are you going to stop him? Okay. But let's just start with golf. The cycling thing, maybe I can add my voice of wisdom and expertise since I myself am a quasi-cyclist.
Just so you know, I don't think the reason's going to be different.
It's all to escape our wives. Women, you thought right. We're just trying to get away from you.
Not what I said.
What's the deal with what is the deal with golf? Seriously, I've golfed and it's fun and I like being out there, but I feel like, it's just golf. But people are like, no, dude, I want to retire. Norm Nemro. I don't know if you remember him. He was the accounting professor. Did you take him? Accounting professor at BYU.
I met him, but I never took it. Yeah.
He wanted to retire at 30. So he worked really hard and he could retire by 30.
Mhm.
So he could golf every day. And he went golfing every day for a year. And then he realized this is really boring. So he went back to school, or went to go back. So he went back and started teaching,
Mhm.
although he didn't have a PhD. So they said, we can't hire you. You don't have a PhD. And he said, well, I'll work for free. So they pay him and then he donates it back. It's fascinating.
Wait, this guy's at Tech, right?
No, this guy's at BYU.
Okay. There was another guy at Tech that was
Like that?
similar. You're talking, yeah, I know.
But
I know
like,
what you're talking about, yeah.
I don't think I've ever had somewhere I thought I want to golf every day. So what is it? None of us, I don't know, Matt, maybe you play golf more than I think, but none of us really golf. So
No,
maybe
but I
this is-
want to.
Maybe this is three morons talking about what we shouldn't talk about, but we nailed it when we talked about women because we speak for all women.
Right.
So what is the
We get how
deal
it
with men
works.
in golf? Go.
I don't.
You don't know either?
No, I
Great.
don't think that it's just golf.
Well, yeah, but find me
think-
something else where it's like that men will obsess about it. They will spend
Many
hours and
things.
days a week
Really?
and
You-
spend huge amounts of money on golf.
You want me to point out all of the dudes who have transformed their basements into their little football haven for football season?
Sure, but even that
Like
means
so much money
Sure,
on that crap.
Sure, but they watch.
They fly out to do fantasy football and they go have these big getaway vacations to do a fantasy draft. Are you kidding me?
Okay,
How's that not the same to you?
I guess because at least it's seasonable. That's the word I just
yeah,
made up.
but only because it's seasonable.
I was
The
going to
word
say
is
golf
actually
is depending on where you live.
seasonal. Huh? I don't
Golf
feel
could
like it
be
is. I feel like people everywhere golf.
Well,
At high
yeah,
levels.
I don't know
That's-
where I live. Like, there's a golf course in my neighborhood.
Yeah.
And like there are periods of the year where like I don't see anybody.
Oh, no, see, I feel like where we are,
And it really
even
here,
at
you
4
would
in the
think.
afternoon.
I mean,
It-
there are
it
people.
intensifies.
There are people, and maybe that's it, right? Like more. So if we're saying golf, there's probably like what is it with men and golf? We're probably saying like what is it with the 1% of men and golf, and then like maybe there's another 1% that
I don't feel like
Listen,
it's that's what I don't feel like it's 1%. I feel like I meet so many men where they would golf as much as they can if they could,
Yep.
and there are higher levels than that. Like,
But I don't know that again, like I think
they make
like my first thought was, yeah, if I could, I would go see a movie in the theater every single day.
really.
Yes. I love
I don't have
movies
that.
in the okay. You cycle.
I don't want.
Becky has said.
What has she said? What is she telling you guys when I'm not there?
No, you were there.
Oh,
She was talking about days where you don't get to ride your bike to work and how you're like in a bad mood.
See?
that's true, but it is like
Just so you know, I'm not in a bad mood when I don't get to watch a movie.
I haven't been riding my bike to work because it's been too hot.
Mhm.
Well, I still do sometimes, but it's not like I also know that like when I ride my bike, for example, on Saturdays, I get up at like 4 or 4:30 in the morning so that I'm done by like
on a Saturday.
by like 6:30 or 7, so that I can still spend time with my family and help around the house and all this stuff.
Yeah.
But for men, it's like golf.
So
Period.
well, maybe
Yeah, but you can't golf in the dark.
But either maybe you're all right. Maybe it is. But I think why is
No, I
it that
think
we have
pick-
these things
pick-
that are
like,
obsessive?
pick some common things about golf that apply to other things, right? So like excessive amounts of time, excessive amounts of money,
Mhm.
and like hyper tunnel vision and focus on one
Yeah,
thing. right?
prioritizing that over.
Why do
also
men
anything
do
else.
that?
So and that's the funny thing, like again, I think
But there might be some uniqueness to golf, though.
there could
does seem
there
to
is
be.
there's part of me that wonders how much of it is just from a young age.
Mm-hmm.
When you retire, you play golf. Like we do not come from a golfing family,
But they don't wait to do retire.
And
right? But
I
meaning
know there are
even
women.
even for us that like
Yeah.
aren't golfers, if you came and said, "Hey, you guys want to golf?" We would all
Mhm.
say yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's go golfing.
I know it's
Like, great.
evolved, but like the original meaning of the acronym golf,
It's an
It was an acronym.
What is it?
gentlemen only, ladies forbidden.
Shut it.
It's also actually at this point basically largely rich white gentlemen only.
Right, but think about maybe like the culture around golf.
Uh-huh.
Like it might be again. This is a
A-
space
kind of
where
a-
this is a space where like as a overly stressed executive or as you know whatever your situation is, this is where you can let it all out
And nothing's- there's
and
no-
it's maybe the most you could do that in a lot of ways, right? But this maybe is the only way you can do it while bettering yourself in some way, right? I'm improving my golf game, right?
Ah.
And I'm
And there is a certain discipline and
Well,
yeah, and there's
meditation.
a
I've had clients
game,
where
and
there's
there's
meditation to
walking.
it.
There's a lot of like, I mean,
Yeah.
depending on if you're most people aren't walking, I guess, but there still is a decent amount of being outside, and
Right.
there's
And usually
conversation, and
drinking
there's
for a lot of people.
bets, and also, I mean, there's a lot to go around golf specifically.
Yeah.
I think that makes it unique, but also, yeah, like I agree with you. Like the amount of time I played 18 holes for the first time ever, 2 years ago.
It was like 4 hours.
It was for like a fundraiser for the high school soccer team, and yeah, and all of us were like, oh my gosh, like I like golf, but man.
Yeah.
And then I know guys that play like 18 holes or 27
Regularly,
holes
yeah.
every weekend, multiple times. It's
Yeah.
like, that's a lot of, you got to be really into something.
And I do think there is something to be said for, like, the thing about golf is, yes, I'm technically playing against other people, but I think it's one of the rare sports where you can lose, but everyone will celebrate you if you golf like a person, if you beat your regular,
Yeah.
right?
So you're competing against yourself.
Right.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's something that is accepted as, like, yeah, I can celebrate the fact that you, like, this was your best round ever, and you don't think I'm, patronizing you because you lost. Like, no, this is just, we celebrate it because we did it. And it is, again, it's something that I think as people, but as men in particular, we like measurable things, and you can measure everything about golf, and anyone can learn to do it. Most of us won't ever be good enough to play football at a high level.
I can't learn to do it.
Sure you could. I believe in you, Rob.
I once tried to hit my ball over a water hazard and hit it in 3 times. And so then I picked it up to throw it over, and I threw it into the water hazard. And then the very next hole, I kept trying to hit my ball off the tee, swung, looked down. I was like, my ball's still there. Did that 6 times.
Hey,
it seems so simple.
Hey, the whole adage in baseball, keep your eye on the ball.
I did that the whole time.
Thing.
Clearly you did not.
After I was like, oh, it's still there. I didn't even move my head to see if I was like, is my club too short?
I was gonna say, my favorite is, did you not, like, you're shocked, did you not hear that you didn't hit it?
Dude, I was out there feeling awkward, I'll tell you that much. I was like, make this 9 holes be over, because my drummer and his dad were like upset because I hit their Titleist into the water hazard. And I was like, guys, you want me to climb in there? There's probably like 40 Titleists in there.
I'm going to just buy you a new one?
Yeah. Well, that's the other thing too. It's like, dude, don't let my balls. It's like, I mean, how much did you pay just to get on this green today?
Like that you can go to the putt, and they have lots of golf balls.
They ain't Titleist, bro. So here's the thing. Like, when you guys are saying that, I have nothing against golf. Actually, I do think it's fun when I've gone to do it, mostly because I like hanging out with my friends. And I like being outside, and golf courses are often very pretty. Although if you listen to Malcolm Gladwell, his thing about golf, it's like no one should ever golf.
Complaints about it.
It's very elitist, and it uses up massive resources. Like, here I am thinking about how up in Round Rock, at least, where we have signs all over, please conserve water. Yeah. And I think those golf courses are just flooding it out so they can keep those things looking nice.
Which I will say that at least the golf course that's kind of in our neighborhood.
Oh, they're yellowed for sure.
Oh yeah. And I thought, well, good for them. Yeah. Like, at least they're slightly yellow.
Yeah. But so I like, and even like, I can see, like, with cycling, because actually when I brought up cycling too, I thought, oh, one of the things I love about cycling is I do like to see how far I can push my body. There's a sense of control in that and a sense of accomplishment. And I like the feeling of, like, when your body kind of slips into that zone of, like, it's doing everything like it should be, and it feels cyclical, dare I say? Dare. And I think I also like the feeling of being out. I don't like to do it in town. I like the feeling of going, like, riding out to Taylor, which is not however far away it is, because I'm out there and there's nothing out there but me and a train or whatever. And it's cool to, like, look and see and feel like you're out there. I really want to go ride in, like, the Scottish hillside to be like, it's me out in nature. So all those things feel like, okay, I get that. And golf has similar elements to all those things.
Well, and I do think too, you've described 2 things that you don't have to have other people to do.
Right.
Like, you can successfully golf or cycle by yourself.
In fact, I don't want to cycle with other people, which is funny.
But that's the other thing, is you easily could incorporate.
Yeah, people do.
Right?
They usually do.
It's the perfect blend of, I can do it by myself or I can do it with other people. Whereas, like, any of the other sports we've talked about, no, you can't do those by yourself.
What we should do is incorporate into golf the risk of being hit by a car, which I ride with every day. So out of nowhere, a car goes 60 down the fairway.
Did you ever see those activist cyclists? There were several news reports and videos. They were trying to like document how dangerous cycling is. So they were wearing like head cams and stuff, and like just allowing themselves to be hit so that they could document it. So it's
Are
like,
you kidding?
they were trying not to like if I wasn't paying attention, you know,
They wouldn't compensate for someone else, basically.
yeah. So it's just like, I'm just going, and I'm not going to try and warn, or I'm just going to operate as though this
Yeah, like
person
I'm a
should be the one paying attention.
Right.
Right.
Yeah, there's several videos where people are just like, "Oh crap!" just getting hit by cars, and
I'm committed.
Dude,
At some point, you decide this isn't worth it.
was like-
worth the message.
that's the way you're trying to do it.
yeah,
You could end up dead.
I will say, and actually, I think I have a point to all of this.
we still haven't answered the question.
That's true, but I will say, when I've been riding my bike, cycling,
Yeah.
people have told me many times, both the two sports I like doing, running and cycling. I have had many people tell me, "I hate you on the road. I hate you." It's like, okay, I don't understand. Like when,
I hate you as a runner, I hate you as a
yeah,
cyclist.
like runners are always out on the road. It's like I get out of the way of the car.
Yeah.
I'm not sitting there thinking, "Move, car, I'm running." I'm not
Mhm.
an idiot. But when I ride, I think, well, if there's a shoulder, I will ride it in happily.
Mhm.
Other riders I know, they want to be out in the road so they're seen. I wear lots of lights on me so you will see me, and I do it at night. Well, when it's dark, so I stand out.
Yeah.
But even still, there's no one on the road. It's just me out there in the middle of nowhere, and a car will ride by me, and I watch them swerve into the shoulder and then back out. And I think, was that just to kind of like let me know
Mhm.
I don't like you? Or the guy when I'm riding and he's coming the opposite direction from me, and all of a sudden he honks and flips me off. And I thought, it's
That's
just me
happened
out
to
here.
you?
Oh yeah.
Well,
And then I'm
according
not
to
even
what
in
we've
his lane.
talked about already, that's either somebody trying to mess with you and make friends, or trying to be creative by destroying.
So what I should do is like, hey
Let's give
pal.
them some credit.
So wait,
Just wave back, Rob. A one finger wave.
do you have an answer to the question then?
Well, no, the question you were talking about was like, why do men spend excessive amounts
Yes.
of time and money and
I think you're getting at this idea of a community around this, even like a safety. you
I was
didn't say
just
it that way,
speaking, I guess, to golf as kind of like maybe
but
there's probably still some element of that. But I think
Yeah.
with other things, again, it's like if it's something that I'm competing with myself against, or something that gets me into a state of flow and relaxation, or like you're talking about with your ride, or something that I can have full control over. I always wonder, like, there's probably two sides to a cycle like this. One person saying you spend too much time golfing, and the other
Right.
person saying, because of our dynamic, I feel the need to, or some other element of my life, I feel the need to spend that much time golfing. So I think we look at it sometimes as it's just something you're like addicted to,
Mhm.
and it's pulling you away from some neutral experience.
Right.
And that sometimes is the case, right? Sometimes people really aren't aware of how their self-interest is impacting their relationships. But I think it's also true that, if you worked less, would you have to golf that much? Or if, home life was going better, would you have to
Would you feel the
escape to the garage all the
Yeah.
time? Like, I don't know. So I think that doesn't mean that it's like this causal thing, like we always try
Yeah.
and do. Like, well, if you just stop doing this, then I'd stop doing this. It's like, how do you get two people or three people or four people talking together about why is something like in like such excess and other things in such a state of deprivation in your life? It's like way out of balance.
Yeah.
So I guess when I think about it, I think, what is her name? Camille Paglia? I don't know how to say it. She's a feminist from kind of the early stages of feminism. And she's kind of controversial now, I think, because of a lot of the things she has said that maybe just don't land the same now as they did originally with feminism. But one of the things she says that I don't 100% agree with how emphatically she stated it. And it was kind of probably meant to be provocative, but she said like if we didn't have men, then we'd all still be living in grass huts. And so obviously a lot of women were like, dude, I could build a skyscraper. I could build,
Right.
I could do these things. Right. So like, what are you talking about? She was referring more to, like, generally speaking, women's sense of like worth and womanhood comes as a natural product of menstruation, right? So like, and I think probably this has changed recently in terms of, you could probably find a ton of women that say, no, I like my sense of worth comes from a lot of other things, right? But she's saying, generally speaking, like your sense of who you are in the community is kind of like, it happens at that point, right? And men have to prove it to the community, right? And so that's why you have so many men in like really high risk jobs, is because they're like basically like they're the ones whose identity causes them to be so stupid that they'll do like really risky things to prove who they are. But maybe the community more and more is saying like, hey, you don't need to do that to prove your identity. But then there's this big gap. Then it's like, well, then who's going to do that? Right? Who's going to do those jobs? Who's going to do all those things? Right? AI. But and then AI will rise up in 80 years and be like, what? You guys told me I mattered. So I do wonder about like some of these excessive amounts of time. Like, are you trying to prove something to yourself? Are you trying to prove, or is it more about checking out and like escaping? Because that's how you started, right? Are you trying to get away from something, or are you like so fixated on like, I've got to be, I for some reason have some vision of being the most amazing golfer ever. So I'm constantly out there, like literally trying to become a better golfer. I don't know.
Well, I had a friend who fished all the time. Every Saturday he'd get up, he'd go fish. He'd fish for a few hours. And he had some mental health struggles. And at some point, had done some work with a therapist and had eventually gotten himself on medication. And everything kind of shifted for him. And I asked him, I said, so you still fishing? And he goes, no, like I haven't fished in months probably. And I thought, what? And he goes, I just don't feel the need anymore. He goes, before I almost felt this need to go do it. And he goes, I don't. And so for him, it very much was, here's this thing that feels unbalanced and fishing helps me balance it. And he would still like, it wasn't like an escape from family thing. Like he still would spend a ton of time with his, like, he would, Saturday was kind of his day to fish. And then like Sunday, they would all go out on the boat as a family and spend family. Like watching them as a family was like, oh, you guys really get that whole family thing down, don't you? But so for him, it was just that balance of something feels off and fishing helps settle it for me. And so I'm going to do it to help keep me settled so that I can function all these other places. And then when he found, when the medicine took care of it for him, he didn't need to fish.
I think what's interesting though, like as we talk about this in the end, because I think some stuff I feel like is just maybe it is just a factor of like, this is a space where I go, where I get to be with other dudes. Yeah. And we're not good about just spending time together. So I need to have a purpose. And when I'm with other dudes, I get to be parts of myself that I don't get to be with my wife. And I don't know. I agree. There are for sure times when it's like, if it becomes addictive or obsessive, maybe it is to the level of like something else is off somewhere else and you're not paying attention to that. But I don't know that it's always like, we can't blanket statement and say this is what it is, which we're not trying to. I think there's so much nuance for each person about why they do the things they do at the level they do them. Yeah. Because even that, I'd say it's interesting. I could make an argument for fishing is this healthy thing. You're getting out in nature. You're doing something that's it's a productive, it's a hobby you're engaged in. And then instead you got on medication. I think, I might say, let's get you off medication, get you to fishing, right. And maybe finding out that neither one of those is gonna be the perfect, you're gonna have to find the balance. Right. So I do think it matters. Like when we talk about this for men or women who are listening about their husbands, if that's the case, like there is a reason why behind this. It's not always, I want to get away from you. Sometimes it might be. And if that's the case, you got to look at that. Like, and I don't think it means this is a blanket statement, like golf as much as you need to.
Yeah. Well, and it's funny too, because I think, okay, maybe it is because they want to get away from you. Couples aren't meant to spend every minute of free time together. Yeah. He should have his own like circle of friends that he hangs out with. He should have his own hobbies that he does. If he's spending no time with you, okay, now we got a problem. Sure. But if he's once a week, once every 2 weeks going out golfing with his friends, good for him. Those relationships are really important. They're going to make him most likely a better husband, a better father, right? Because he's he's taking care of himself. And so it's not like, sometimes I think, it's not
No, it's not. It's
so bad that you're going to do it
no.
because you want, like, no, I like,
Yeah, there's, like we've said, there's
yeah,
a range here, right? And I think that couples that have a working
understanding,
dialogue around, hey, these are important things that we need to prioritize for each other, and
for ourselves.
you doing your thing isn't like a consistent overburdening
Right.
for everybody else,
Right.
Yeah.
But that's
Right.
I think it matters to talk about this because I think men in general will just kind of, not always, but they'll feel bad or then maybe get defensive and like cram it down your throat for doing these things where it's like, it's just stuff. There's reasons why men do this stuff, even like smack each other in the head. Like, it's just there. It's not
With
always
shovels.
with shovels if necessary.
Snow shovels.
It's not always a bad thing. Like it's I think it's valuable to understand, like, oh, there are reasons why I do this that maybe even are evolutionary or whatever you want to say in terms of like, or it's just how men bond, and that's not a bad thing. And your spouse should not be everything to you. So there should be outlets you have in other ways. But I think like what you're saying, man, in the beginning, it's not that these aren't bad things. I think these are just things that I think fascinate me, that I've had plenty of people ask me, like, why do men do this? Or why does my husband do this? And unfortunately, a lot of husbands don't ask. If it's like, why do you do this so much? Like, I don't know, I like it. And I do think it's valuable to pause and think, okay, why do I do this so much? Like, I had to think about why, especially when I started writing, I was writing a ton. Not nowhere near still. I mean, I was writing a lot. And some guys like, those people are crazy, man. And I was like,
Was that me?
No, yep, it was you. And I was like, I said, yeah, I mean, I get out there. I was like, he's like, you like
writing?
Yeah.
They said writing.
No, writing.
Yeah.
He's like, you get out there. I was like, yep, early in the morning, I'm wearing the full outfit. He's like, full thing with the padded butt. I was like, yep, that. And he's like, man, that's just weird. I was like, and the last time I was out there writing, I actually kind of started dancing and singing to myself because I was having such a good time. And he's like, what the crap is wrong with you? I was like, I don't know, man. I just really enjoyed it. And so I think, cool. But I do have to find the balance in that. Like, if you are extending so far that it's like this occupies, you're going to debt for this thing, or like your kid didn't get braces because you got new clubs. It's like, hey, we should probably reprioritize.
Wow.
We practiced this.
I
was like, and then key at moment 54, we'll say reprioritize. I'll have Robbie mark that in the YouTube thing, so people are like, whoa, check those dudes out. So I guess in some ways I'm saying, hey, good for us as men.
for beating each other up, rolling rocks down hills, and golfing all day.
That kind of destructive thing, I think that's the kind of thing that leads someone to go, oh, well, I could actually do this. And then it's like the drive to like understand why this thing was, and what if I could make something bigger than this? Like that. The reason we have skyscrapers the way we do is because you had men in competition to say who's going to make the tallest one.
Right.
And they kept finding like, oh, I'm going to be taller. And it's like, it's cool. It makes these really cool, amazingly beautiful skylines that we can still admire years and years and decades later. It's amazing.
And even taking up the destructive thread, the atomic bomb in Oppenheimer.
Yeah, man.
Like that whole thing
wasn't very cool in the movie.
It was still pretty cool,
man,
for being a practical effect.
Man.
Whatever.
Come on, Christopher.
But it's that whole, like, that was very much on Oppenheimer's part. It was very much a, let's see what we can do. Like, I got theories about this. Let's see if we can make these practical.
But also very excited.
Oh,
like,
right.
There's a science in this, and this is driving me forward to know this. I think that's really cool.
But there also was that aspect of competition, right? They had to beat the Germans to this. They had to beat the Russians to this. So that we understand, like, no, we need to be the ones who understand first what we're dealing with.
That's what drives most things. When I blow stuff up, I think I have to beat the Germans. Like I've told my kids, guys, come here. We're going to light this thing.
Light this bottle rocket. We need to beat the Germans.
We're building a fire in our backyard in our fire pit. We have to beat the Germans.
We've got a few German listeners who are not going to take kindly to those comments.
No, they just live in Germany.
Okay.
They'll be like, no, you're right. Let's beat those Germans. I think Germans are fascinating people, actually.
Have you heard? I got to show you this Instagram account after we're done.
Okay.
There's this guy that's like,
did he marry it
in German? We do not say I don't care.
Oh, I've seen that.
We say
it's like stuff where it's like, oh. He's like, and I really think that's lovely.
Yeah, at the end, and I think that's beautiful.
Yeah.
Have you seen the one where it's someone says a word in English or French or something. Someone says it in Spanish,
Oh yeah.
and then
The German's always like angry sounding.
this girl comes up and like screams it in German. It always sounds so angry. And the one I've ever seen of hers, I've only ever seen the one. The last one, she's laughing so hard she could barely get it out.
Right. See? And now
I think,
Germans.
real quick, there is an arc to manhood.
yeah. Have we peaked?
Us,
Go
we're
ahead.
probably right at the tip. I don't know. I think a lot of the three things we talked about today,
Mhm.
they seem to decrease or change meaning quite a bit as men age.
Yeah.
I was thinking yesterday, it's almost like it's weird to think of, and I don't know if this only, I'm sure it doesn't only apply to masculinity in men, but like if you imagine this like inverted arc where, you know, at the
Apex,
The opposite of apex.
of it,
convex.
the convex of it is when you're like firmly planted on the earth, right?
Right.
Like, you know, in childhood and stuff, you're kind of like trying to find your footing and trying to, you know, establish yourself. And there's all this energy to kind of like almost, if you imagine gravity as kind of like the driving force here, there's like this drive to kind of have gravity pull you down and anchor you to the earth, right? Like I'm trying to improve myself. I'm learning, I'm starting a family, I'm all these things, right? But then you hit this point midlife where it's like, okay, I'm firmly planted and gravity's crushing me. Like I feel like I'm just being pounded into the ground. But then, you know, you get into kind of like 50s and later, and I think there's some things that kind of free up where you're like, yeah, that doesn't matter as much to me anymore. Or, you know, I'm letting go of that and I'm kind of like ascending up the other side of it. And so I do wonder with some of these things, like how much of it is that drive to kind of like, you know, come down and connect. I want to be connected to people. I want to be connected to my ability to create, or, you know, my hobbies or my identity or whatever. Right. And then like do those kind of like slough off of us later in life once we've kind of like people that say, I wish everybody could be famous, because then you'd realize that it's not worth it. It's not. Yeah.
It is interesting to wonder that, like, because I mean, I've worked with people who, if we're talking about like the feeling to create, and I've known a lot of people where it's like, I haven't felt that yet, and they're 65. It's like, I still need that. So it's not, maybe it is not an age thing. It's a, what have I accomplished in this? Either way, I actually find this kind of strangely beautiful about men. Like, oh, look at us go. Let's go blow some stuff up.
And I think that's beautiful.
And we could also go to the soda store and start destroying our bodies.
Yes.
I don't know about you guys, but I'm creating because I'm having an energy drink.
Yeah, you are creating energy. Well, then come back next time and catch us next time on the Manspace. Ich liebe dich.
I was going to yell 9.
We hope you enjoyed the episode. Please remember to
Rate
and
review.
please, we desperately need it.